This is the drag clicker of the Shimano Sahara family of reels. This little pin here runs on these plastic teeth with tension that is controlled by the little spring under the little pin. And it actually doesn't sound too bad. It sounds better than what you would expect from this little pin running on plastic teeth. And this is the drag clicker of the new Shimano Vanford. This is also the drag clicker of the old model Vanford, which was the Stradic CI4 Plus, exactly the same. But this is also the drag clicker of the brand new Complex XR. And then it's also the same exact drag in the Twin Power. And it's also the exact same drag clicker as in the Vanquish. So already you probably kind of get the idea that if this is the drag clicker that's in all of the expensive reels, it must be a better drag clicker than the one that's in all of the cheap reels. The sound in the Vanford and all of the expensive reels is definitely louder, it's definitely crisper, and it's more vibrant. Definitely a lot more enjoyable drag clicker than the one in the Sahara family. And here comes the new Ultegra clicker. Okay. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, Shimano decided to put in the Ultegra the drag clicker of the cheaper reels. Those of you who watched my review of the Vanford may remember that I had several issues with the reel, but the main issues were that it had too much resistance and also that it had some like sandy grinding feel of the gears of the 2000 model and the 1000 model. And this sandy grinding feeling was exactly the same, sandy grinding feeling that you would find on all the old Stradics, and I would say also the Stradic family of reels. There are several Japanese reels that are based on the Stradic, just different paint and different bearings configuration. And they all had this very specific grinding feeling in the gears of the little models. So you can imagine when I got in the mail this Ultegra, C2000S, I did not have a very high expectations about a reel that costs only half of the Vanford because I already didn't like the Vanford. So how much am I gonna like the much cheaper reel? While I have the box, I will let you pause the video to look at the specs here. The most important thing is 185 grams. This is critical. And it has 5+1 bearings. I'm going to show you the bearings as well really quick here. Again, you can pause the video and study the diagram, but it's the usual. If you have 5 bearings, 5+1, it's the usual bearings. You have 2 on each side of the main gear, you have 2 on each side of the pinion gear, you have 1 in the line roller, and that's 5. For those of you who don't know what pinion gear and main gear is, I'll just tell you that this reel has all of the bearings that you need and none of the bearings that you don't need. So I get the reel out of the box and I just turn the handle. I just turn the handle and I turn the handle and I turn the handle. And then I wish you could have heard me, or I could have recorded myself. I wish you could have heard me, say just to myself alone in my office, "Oh my God." Because that's what I said, even though I was all alone. I said, "Oh my God." When I turned the handle of the Vanford, I immediately noticed the sandy, gritty feeling and the resistance. And this reel doesn't have the sandy, gritty feeling of the Vanford. I don't want to say if the resistance is better than what it was on the Vanford because I don't have a stock Vanford anymore. I opened the reel completely and I removed the old grease and I put thinner grease and I fished it a lot, so resistance is really low now. It's definitely lower than the Ultegra, but I remember I didn't like the resistance out of the box. So I would say out of the box, the two reels have very similar resistance, and if one of them has lower resistance, the difference is not worth mentioning. And with respect to just the overall feel of the drivetrain, the feel of the drivetrain feels better than the feel of the drivetrain of the Vanford. As a matter of fact, you know, this twin power is heavier and had some resistance too, but it had just no free play and it didn't have the sandy, gritty feeling of the Vanford gears. I didn't understand the reason for that. But my little Ultegra here, the weight is almost the same as the twin power and it doesn't have the gritty feeling just like the twin power, and they look real similar with less light than what I have, with a little bit, just normal daylight. I mean, they're gonna look real similar to you and they're gonna feel real similar, and to 99% of the anglers, they're gonna feel exactly the same. Okay, I'm telling you, they're gonna feel exactly the same. You have to be experienced ultralight angler to start splitting hairs and tell that the twin power is better than the Ultegra, again, in terms of drivetrain feel. There are some differences though. The free play here in the twin power is non-existent. There is but very little, almost non-existent. There are some free plays in the Ultegra. Okay, there is some free play here. Even the rotor, even the spool free play. So, okay, there are some free plays here and there, and overall the feel is a little bit tighter here in the twin power. Again, if you fish both of them enough and have experience with high-end reels, you can split hairs, but it is very difficult for somebody who usually fishes with $100 reels to tell the difference between these two reels. And now I'm going to tell you something astonishing. The drivetrain of this reel, the gears in this reel, the main gear and the pinion gear of this $140 reel are exactly the same gears that you will find in the $230 Vanford. As a matter of fact, they're exactly the same gears that you will find in the $300 Complex XR. As a matter of fact, they're exactly the same gears that you're gonna find in the $370 twin power. How about that? And if that's not enough for some of you, yes, they're exactly the same gears as you will find even in the Vanquish. How about that? Now, if you don't find this astonishing for a $140 reel, to get the gears all the way down from the king of the hill, well, you, sir, are hard to please. Those of you who like to put cheap Chinese bearings into good Japanese reels would be happy to know that the knob comes off and you can replace these two plastic bushings with bearings. The knob had no free play on my reel, and you can see one of the bushings had a washer, so I think they're doing a fit test when they're putting the knob. But if you already bought the bearings, a bunch of bearings for some other reel and have some extra bearings, go ahead and knock yourself out and replace them. Just don't come here and tell me that your knob feels so much better now, because I'm gonna say bullshit, and then our beautiful friendship will sour. You can put cheap Chinese bearings on either side of the oscillation worm also. Especially, on the back of the oscillation worm, it's a very non-invasive surgery. I do have a video where I explain how to do that on the Vanford. Where is my Vanford? So if you really want to do that, I will leave a link in the description on how to replace, where I show how to replace bushings with bearings on the Vanford. And the replacement procedure is exactly the same for the rear bushing on the oscillation worm. To replace the front bushing, you have to open the entire reel, you have to disassemble everything, you have to pull the gears out. And at the end of the day, if you are lucky as I was, getting just such an amazing reel out of the box, super smooth and super quiet with no noise, you gotta be out of your mind to disassemble this reel, to start completely, to start putting replacing the original bushings, original factory bushings, with cheap Chinese bearings. You gotta be out of your mind. You cannot put cheap Chinese bearings in the spool though. I actually don't mind that as much because it doesn't change the feel of the reel very much. It just adds some weight. But as you can see, the metal bushing is made a part of the spool in this reel, and on top is a metal bushing too, and it's part of the spool. So there is nothing to replace here with a bearing for good or for bad. I know people, they love replacing the bushings on the spool with bearings, and the biggest reason is that these bushings are so easy to replace. Okay, and then imagine, you want to make your body jealous, and you already put two bearings here in the knob, which was very easy, and you put one more bearing here, which is also relatively easy, very non-invasive surgery. It's three bearings. And then if you could put two bearings here in the spool, oh my god, you can say your reel now has 10 plus 1 bearings. Then go tell everybody about what a great tackle modifier you are, and what a spectacular piece of equipment now you have. Now I'm going to give you a list of features that the Ultegra has that the Sahara family of reels don't have. And I'm not doing this because the two reels are competitors or something, because they are not competitors. This is a better reel, but it's also a more expensive reel. But it's actually easier to visualize this, and not just visualize, but appreciate all of the features that this reel has, because otherwise, if you don't compare it to something, it's hard to appreciate all of the features that it has. But anyway, use the list for whatever you want, or don't use it. But here is the list of features that the Ultegra has and the Sahara family of reels don't have. The first feature, and most important feature, is the reel is made of Shimano's CI4 Plus, or the reel is made of carbon and weighs only 185 grams. The Sahara reels are made of graphite, and rather thick graphite. It has no flex, it's very sturdy, but it's a lot heavier. I don't actually know how heavy the 1000 size is, but it's safe to say it's a real brick, and it's out of the question to use the Sahara family of reels for ultralight fishing. The next difference is, let's say, the oscillation worm. We have oscillation worm line lay in the Ultegra, and we have regular, locomotive gear line lay in the Sahara reels. It is more, just aesthetically to me, the line lay just looks more beautiful. But theoretically, it also is supposed to increase your casting distance a little bit. I said this is theoretically, I don't know if it's practical. This is probably a good segue to the next difference. The Ultegra does have this slightly taller spool. This distance here is a little bit, longer. This is also, theoretically supposed to give you, longer casting distance. I don't know, if you tell me that the line lay combined with the longer, taller spool gives you 3 extra feet of casting distance over comparable 1000 reel, from the Sahara family, honestly, I would let it slide and not challenge you, but as long as you keep it up to, 3 feet extra. If you say more than 3 feet, then same story. I say bullshit and beautiful relationship, goes down. There is an extra bearing in the line roller here. For fresh water, I do prefer a bearing here. For salt water, and if you don't maintain your reels, it's probably, I don't know, better with a bushing there. One piece bail. I don't know if you can see the difference between one piece bail and two piece bail. It's not just that, but it's, again, aesthetically more appealing. This skirt here, this skirt on the Ultegra, again, coming down from the Vanford and the Vanquish and all of these high-end reels, that the skirt that protects a line from going under the spool, it does work from time to time. Even to me, it happens on these cheaper reels. The line will go, under the spool. So, I don't mind the extra 1 gram of carbon or maybe 2 grams that the skirt adds up. Waterproofing, the Sahara itself doesn't have any kind of waterproofing whatsoever, but the Naski does. And the Naski has the X Protect on top, and this one has the Core Protect on top, which is a little bit better. The handle is a screw-in handle here. I didn't mention this when I opened the handle, but this is a screw-in handle. And this handle is like on the Legalis, comes on the other side here. The color of the handle is better here, but not the body. The body has this stupid blue color. Is it blue? What is it? What is this color? You tell me what color this is. You have enough light to make the call. It seems to me that they deliberately sabotage reels with things that don't cost extra money, like the plastic clickers and deliberate obnoxious colors, just to separate the cheaper product from the more expensive product. Because look, this is a $300 reel. Look how nice this looks. So Shimano knows what a good looking reel is and what a good looking color is. I mean, look at this thing. Looks like a $800 reel, doesn't it? So they know. It's not subjective. People say, oh, I like the gold color. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe I like it. It's subjective. It's not subjective. Sorry to tell you, it's objective. This color is ugly. If you cannot tell that's your deficiency. It is objectively ugly color. I think it's deliberate sabotage in the cheaper reels. I don't know what. Oh, the last difference is this Ultegra has micro module 2 gears, and these have micro module 1. Okay, now let's do the exact same feature comparison between the Ultegra and the Vanford. Well, the first thing that we established is the better clicker, right? The clicker is definitely better. It's significantly nicer to listen to, and you can even feel a difference when you play fish. Another difference is the number of bearings. The Vanford has 2 extra bearings, but they are in the knob. So very easy to put, bearings in the knob if that's important to you. So is this really improvement over the Ultegra? More bearings in the knob? You tell me. There is one, there are some bushings in the Vanford that don't exist in the Ultegra, like on the main shaft and on the spool. So there are places where you can add bearings to the Vanford. where you cannot add bearings over here in the Ultegra. So the mechanics are not exactly identical, but anyway, the only two extra bearings are over here in the handle. Okay, the aesthetics, the Vanford is not the most beautiful reel in the world, and it's still, whether you like the black and the red or not, it still definitely beats this blue color, right? So aesthetics are another improvement. Oh, the NGL rotor, that's a big one, at least on paper. Look at the two rotors. I mean, you can tell the NGL rotor, look how thin it is. Look at this guy, chunky, right? So on paper, this should be an incredible advantage for ultralight reel, because what's more important than the spinning of the rotor, in an ultralight reel? But I can tell you that out of the box, even though every reviewer on YouTube told you how low the resistance on the Vanford is, that's the one thing nobody missed. Everybody told you how low the resistance is. I mean, I don't know what grease they used or what the reason is. Out of the box, the two reels, and I'm talking about sizes 2000 and 1000, I can't tell the difference in resistance at all. Resistance, inertia, both. The Vanford out of the box does not have lower resistance and lower inertia. One thing that it does improve though is the weight, because whether you have inertia or not, the weight difference is there, and oh my god, is there a weight difference between the two reels? The Vanford is 150 grams and the Ultegra is 185 grams. That's a 35-gram difference on top of a 150-gram base. This is the only difference that's kind of meaningful between the two reels. And unfortunately, not only it's meaningful, but the Vanford absolutely kills the Ultegra in terms of weight. And there is one difference where the Ultegra is superior to the Vanford, and that's the feel of the drivetrain. The reel actually feels better than the Vanford. So as far as the Shimano lineup is concerned, the Ultegra is far superior than the Sahara family, and the price difference is justified. And with respect to the Vanford, and I mean, there's no reason to buy the Twin Power for sure over the Ultegra, because the Twin Power weighs the same. It is a little bit better reel, don't jump on me. But you absolutely cannot justify the more than double price of the Twin Power. For what? They weigh the same and they feel the same. The drag is a little bit better. So the Ultegra stacks up really, really well in the Shimano lineup. The question is, how does it compare against the Daiwa models? And this video is already way too long for me to start a brand new comparison with a Daiwa model now. But I know that you are just dying to find out how does it compare with the new Legalis. And even though I will be releasing a review of the new Legalis next week, I will tell you this today. Both of these reels are just amazing value, and they make the purchase of high-end reels of either brand just difficult to justify. And if you have to pick between the two reels, I can tell you that without a doubt, the Ultegra is the better reel of the two. It's better in several departments. And if you have the $140, go for the Ultegra and you will love it and you will be very happy with it. And I promise you, you're getting the better reel. That said, the difference between the Ultegra and the Legalis is not as big as you would think. And if you're on any kind of budget and you don't want to, quite spend $140 on a reel, then go with the Legalis and you will be very happy camper also. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.